Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Robbins, and welcome to Life, Death, and the Space Between. I'm someone who pays attention to synchronicities, and how I kind of distinguish those are how many times I hear of certain things. So if someone mentions something to me one time, I think, okay, fine. Maybe I'm curious about it. Maybe I pursue it. Maybe I don't. But when I hear something being mentioned to me multiple times, that's when I'm like, okay, I got to follow this and see what this is all about. So today's episode with Gail Lynn was just that. I had several people tell me about their experiences with this harmonic egg. And I thought, I need to learn more about that. So I invited Gail on the show to tell me all about it. And I have to tell you, I was fascinated. I have not tried a harmonic egg yet. I cannot attest to how it works in terms of my own personal experiences. But what I can tell you is that what Gail describes in this episode in terms of how she came to build this incredible, what sounds like healing vessel is nothing short of miraculous. And when we hear about people who have channeled ideas or come up with these fascinating inventions, it does make you wonder, how does this all come together? Could this just be something that the human mind creates, or is there more to this? And I'll leave you with that question as I talk to Gail Lynn in today's episode of Life, Death, and the Space Between. Welcome, Gail, to Life, Death, and the Space Between.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been watching some of your interviews. They're so awesome. So if people haven't heard your interviews with Dr. Judy and Linda and the Dream Flow, they're awesome. Loved them.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. You did your research too. I love it. Okay. There's so many ways we could go with this interview. And as my listeners know, I always like to bring on people who are going to bring something new, something fresh that they've never heard before. And I would bet most of my listeners, as I had not heard of the harmonic egg until just a couple of months ago from a friend of mine. We're going to get to that. But I want to talk about the lead up and the synchronicities and all of the things that happened in your life to get you to the place of inventing this incredible, would you call it like a healing machine?
I call
it's like
it
a time machine.
I call it a chamber, but it's a conscious technology. That's just what I've noticed about it. It's very conscious, and it's made out of sacred geometry and wood and the consciousness of Tesla and Edgar Cayce and Royal Rife and Wilhelm Reich. So it's a conscious technology.
So how did you get from where you were, which was having nothing to do with conscious technology, to inventing conscious technology?
I think it's just a similar story to many healers. It was to save my own life. The Western medicine failed me miserably when I was 17. I worked for a doctor's office, and I had just started to have migraines at that time. And I don't know if it was, the change in your bodies and hormonal. I really don't know, or it was a buildup of heavy metals living in the Detroit area, or it was just a lot of stress I graduated from high school when I was 17. My mom put me in school when I was 4. And so a lot of times migraines are from an imbalance in the nervous system called dysautonomia. It could be from heavy metals. It could be from the Epstein-Barr virus, which, is a mutation of Lyme and strep, and which I had when I was a kid. And I remember asking one of the doctors, what can you do for me for these migraines? They were so debilitating. Oh, there's nothing we can do for migraines. We don't know why people get them. And I thought, that's not an answer. Like, these are doctors. These are people that we trust. These are people that we go to and say, what's wrong with me? What do I take? How much? What do I do? And I think I realized back then we have to start taking responsibility for our own health and saying, what do I take? What do I do? And what's wrong with me? And so that's when my journey started. And of course, it was a very unlikely journey to the harmonic egg from a little blue-collar Detroit girl that worked in automotive after the doctor's office. Then I went to telecommunications in Texas. Then I was in Hollywood in California. And after that, with, 2 divorces, super stressed, I was on the verge of an instant heart attack per my heart rate variability test, which shows the balance of your nervous system. And so I knew that there needed to be something, or else I wasn't going to live very long. And I was 37 at the time. So now I'm 53, and I feel like the aging has reversed, and my body has done so well with sound and light therapy. And, with the engineering background, international business and telecom, and then the extemporaneous communication that I had to learn in Hollywood, I felt like it was a really funny joke from the universe to bring me here. And, here I am today, the inventor, quote unquote, of the harmonic egg, but it really wasn't mine. It came through me, through meditation, through the dream state, through being silent, and through my desire to be humble and to check out from the ego and to be of service to humanity.
So you started, the migraine treatment was red light therapy that kind of turned you on to, what's going on here? Can you tell us a little about that?
23 years of migraines, and still with no help. And it was really a sound and light healing chamber that was the shape of a box. That was my mentor for the egg. And I found that modality or that technology in 2007, so 37 years old. And so all those years I'd suffered from migraines with zero help. And my heart goes out to the people that have migraines on a daily or a weekly basis, where mine were just about once a quarter. So I'd have a debilitating migraine about once a quarter, so 4 times a year, maybe 5 times a year. And what helped was resetting the autonomic nervous system. But then unfortunately, I did a heavy metal detox and a parasite cleanse at the same time. But I haven't had a migraine for 15 years or so.
Wow. And how did this find you?
Through Hollywood, really. I was living in LA, and there was a conference in LA with C-level executives. And I attended the conference, and a gentleman walks on the stage to do his presentation, and he was basically highlighting this light box that he invented. And he's showing a little boy who really, when you looked in the boy's eyes, there was no soul. I've never seen anything like it. There just wasn't a person in there. And from what I remember, this was years ago, 27 brain surgeries by the time he was 4 or 5 years old. And the mother was told, he'll never walk, he'll never talk, he'll never have hair, he'll never grow teeth. And she was like, I don't think so. I don't think anyone gets to put any kind of restrictions on my child. Just like when, people say, oh, you're going to be dead in a month. Well, nobody gets to put an expiration date on you. That's wrong. And so I'm watching the slide progression, and he's showing after some sessions in this light box, you could see that a soul came into the body. There was eyes that you could see a soul. And they say that eyes are the window to the soul. So I started researching that stuff. But at the end of the presentation, a little boy walked on stage with arm crutches who could walk and talk and he had hair and teeth. And I'm looking around, and I've got goosebumps just talking about it. And I thought, is anybody else seeing this? This light box did this to this child who was told this would never happen? And so at that point, I was like, I bullied my way up to the stage. I'm a Scorpio, so I'm very type A personality.
I've got one of those in my house.
Okay. So
Not me, but I've got one.
Yeah. And, I love who I am, but, I'm not shy, and I'm very brave. And so I kind of bullied my way to the stage, and I said to the gentleman, could this help with migraines? Which is hilarious. You see what it did to this young boy, and I'm asking this question, but this was what was
like
plaguing
saying,
me.
Can it help with a hangnail or something?
Right. And so he said, the body doesn't know disease by name. And I thought, what an idiot. That's not an answer. Yes or no. Give me a yes or no, answer. And then I realized now with the FDA and the different regulatory agencies, you can't make a claim. You can't promise anybody anything. We don't know what the body is capable of doing, but we do know that the body has an innate ability to heal. And so I thought, well, that's not an answer. And so I thought, well, what the heck? I'm going to go. The center was in Arizona. So I flew to Arizona, did a weekend of sessions. And right away, my heart rate variability test balanced out and it was completely imbalanced. My sympathetic and parasympathetic blew my mind. So I thought, you know what? I got to look into this. Yeah. Blew my mind. It was very physical and it was very environmental, but it wasn't emotional because when I was a child, my dad was an alcoholic. My mom was kind of a control freak. And I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I blocked out so much. I see pictures of myself riding a bicycle or opening Christmas presents, but I didn't remember. I'll say past tense. I did not remember any of it. And so when I started to experience it as very physical and very environmental, because I could smell deep, toxins coming off of my body, and I could smell my skin after the session. It smelled like heavy metals, like as if you were rubbing coins in your palm and smelling it, that metal smell. But it wasn't really getting to the emotional or the spiritual. So that's where the progression of the harmonic egg came in. But people would say, do you remember Christmas morning? Every kid should remember Christmas morning if you celebrate Christmas, how exciting it is for all the presents and stuff. And I didn't remember any of it. It was all completely blocked.
So do you attribute those kind of repressed emotions contributing to the migraines?
No, not really, but trauma. I think most disease stems from trauma, as you know, in your profession. And I think we have to bring that trauma to the surface and deal with it and release it. Otherwise, it manifests as disease. So it could be that the migraines were emotional. There's absolutely, positively, could be a relationship. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Amongst other things, right? Because nothing is, I think that there's lots of systems that impede on, right? Psychosocial systems that all impede on the physical body. So, okay, so you have this amazing experience. And then how do you get from that to the download of what this harmonic egg device is going to be? Because it's a pretty, I'm gonna hold up the picture to your book. So for people who are watching, they can see kind of what this looks like. It looks like a little wooden time travel machine.
Right.
Yeah.
Just beam me up, Scotty, right?
Exactly. I know.
I read all of Edgar Cayce's books, and his last book before he passed away, he did say if somebody would bring together spiritual forces of sound and spiritual forces of light, it would be a great modality for the future. And so I loved the enclosed chamber. I loved the sound and the light. I loved so much about the light box, but yet my little spidey sense or my guides were saying there's something more. And so as I was doing sessions and I opened a center with 2 of the light boxes in Colorado, clients were complaining. I'm laying flat on my back, and when I sit up after an hour, my back hurts. And they would say the music sounds fuzzy because it's playing through some speakers underneath a 4-inch foam pad, and they were MP3 files, which are very cold and clinical. And they were staring at, a painted light bulb, which, at the time I was told was the full light spectrum of visible light, which now I know that's not what it was. And I thought, if we could get 360 degrees of healing and we could have someone reclined in a recliner that we could just sit them up and pull them out, and we could have the full expression of the music that musicians have, their integrity of their music without compressing it. Thank you, Steve Jobs. We would have more success. The nervous system sees that distortion and doesn't know what to do with it. So if you look at binary code, you're saying 10010111100. And so when the nervous system is hearing compressed music, it's like, oh, was that a 0 or a 1? In that time, more music has gone by and you're missing it. So I wanted that full expression of music. So the nervous system's like, yep, that's a 1, that's a 0, and I'm tracking it.
So I don't know that I understand that. So can you just pull that apart for me a little bit? So I'm not even going to try to regurgitate it to show you what I don't understand. I'll just let you take it from here.
So an MP3 file is compressed. And so that, if you have an MP3 file, it might be 5 megabytes of a music or a song. So you could put 1,000 songs on an iPod, but the music that we use, you could probably put 50 songs on the iPod because we open it up and it's the full expression and all the integrity of the music is there without it being cold and clinical and compressed.
So when I listen like on my meditation apps to Hertz, whatever, I listen to like so I can never say the word
solfeggio suite, right?
Solfeggio frequencies or the 444 frequencies, those are compressed.
Most of the time they are. They're MP3 files. So if you were to take a spectrum, analyzer and look at the frequencies of it, you're not getting 528 hertz or 444. It's just, it's just marketing. So you really want to have a WAV file with the full expression. But I also have issues with that because we're all different galactic beings. We're all from different places and we've all had different lives. And so not everyone's going to resonate with 528 as the frequency of love. My frequency of love is closer to 1,000 hertz.
Well, we're going to totally derail here. How do you know that?
So pendulum work, dowsing, people who dowse, people who pendulum can test that. We have the egg tested and it vibrates at about 1,500 hertz. So we don't put, 528 hertz in there because it's then bringing down the resonance of the egg and possibly bringing down the resonance of the client inside. And so as we grow, as we connect to our higher self, as we connect more to our source energy, if you look at David Hawkins' work, Power versus Force, he talks about the different frequencies of anger at 250 hertz or, shame and guilt. You got to get above those frequencies to spend your time in love and gratitude. And then the Christ consciousness is well over 1,000 hertz now. And as the planet changes, then we have to change. As we change, the planet changes. So I want to get people more in a place of love and gratitude and connectedness and community because, divided we fall, united we stand. Mm-hmm. And that's really what our current documentary is going to be about, which we talked before you hit record. Mona Sobhani, that we both know, was the neuroscientist that we interviewed in the documentary. And we're interviewing naturopathic doctors and spiritual healers and sound and light experts, voice analysis type experts, because it's time. And it ended up being the documentary title is It's Time. It's time for us to take our power back. Mona's talking about how she left being a neuroscientist because her research couldn't be published because it wasn't what the advertisers wanted. Mm-hmm. So when we look at science, we're not looking at it from the right viewpoint. What was suppressed? What isn't being told because the advertisers don't want that being shared? We need to be living in the truth.
Other powers that be.
Right. And so I want the truth to be out there. We can handle it. That's what Jack Nicholson. You can't handle the truth. We can handle the truth, and we deserve it.
Finally, after so many years of you supporting the podcast, which I am so grateful for those of you who have supported the podcast on Patreon, thank you. It has truly been what has allowed me to keep going with this. And you've heard me say this over and over again. But I finally have an online community. So if you are currently a supporter of the podcast through Patreon, you should have received an email. If you are not yet a supporter of the podcast and want to join the Space Between community, now is your chance. Make sure you get on Patreon at you can just put in Dr. Amy Robbins and it will come up. And if you will become a supporter, you will get added to my community. Also, if you don't want to be a supporter, you can join my newsletter, which is a great way to get more information about the things I'm working on, upcoming events. The community just gives you a way more insider track, access to me, access to conversations, questions, quarterly Q&As for my highest subscribers. So come on over and join us in the Space Between community. So you get this download to create this sound light healing machine. I've been talking a lot about sound in the past couple. I've had a few people on about sound. We've talked about humming and the impacts of that. What is tell me about the power of sound to heal and what it does to our cells. And then I want to know about the power of light to heal and then what it means to put those two together.
Gotcha. So, we're sound and light beings by source energy from God. And so, the ancients were healing with sound and light. So they know from the Aborigines that like 40,000 years ago, they were using the didgeridoo to help heal bones. And it's really...
What is that? I don't know what that is.
The didgeridoo, it's a wind instrument, I'll say, a real long pipe, and it makes this...
Oh, yeah.
And so when you get that really low vibration, like a tuba or a drum or the didgeridoo, it really penetrates the density of the organs in the body and the bones. So it really, what I've studied is each instrument and how it affects the systems, organs, and structure of the body. So that's why I like that more than the frequencies. So the waveform of the flute, I've found that it helps with the liver. People will be inside the harmonic egg, listening to flute music and feeling it in their right side, right there by the rib cage. And so this is what I've been putting together. The piano seems to balance the autonomic nervous system. The drumming after live blood analysis is showing to increase the immune system. And so we were using the instruments and their waveforms inside a resonant chamber to affect the cells and to release trauma at a cellular level and really help people connect to their higher self, but connect to their body so they can hear what their body is communicating. So many people will say, well, I broke my ankle and then I had a torn rotator cuff and then I had a brain injury and now I have cancer. And I feel like it's just all these times the body's like, hello, are you listening? So one of the ladies that we interviewed in the documentary said, if you don't listen to the whisper, you'll get the nudge.
Right.
If you don't listen to the nudge, you'll get the hammer. And so many people don't listen. So many people don't listen to their bodies. And that's what I try to promote because it's so important. So sound can affect the body in so many ways. And we know that, even looking at Emoto's work with energy and information being held in water and how you can influence water. Our bodies are mostly water. So what we say, our voices also affect our cells. We need to not say, oh my gosh, I'm a retard or I'm stupid or this or that. We need to not say that about ourselves and not listen to people who call us names like that as well. Get away from those people because they're influencing the cellular structure through the water and your body. And so I love sound. I'm obsessed with sound. There's good sounds, there's bad sounds, but if you hear a bad sound, you can also transmute it into being a lovely sound, like the plane going over right now. And, it's like, somebody's traveling to a vacation destination or going to see a family member. And so, when you change the way you see things, the things you see will change. Wayne
so
Dyer.
Like if there's a fire truck coming and you're like, oh my God, there's a fire versus, oh, they're going to help people who might need it.
Exactly. When we just shift that way of thinking, we can shift everything. So I love how sound works. I love how the body works, and I love how our voice, we interviewed a voice analyst in our documentary. Her name is Ani Williams. She's my mentor with listening to the voice. Your voice can be missing a tone. So what I'm communicating to you right now, maybe I'm missing the tone of G. It has a lot to do with your astrological sign, the traumas that you've had, any kind of disease that you have. So coming home from our Sedona filming, where I met with Ani, I sat next to a gentleman on the plane, and I could pick up the energy that was kind of being communicated. When I walked up to the aisle, he looked scared, and I thought, like, why? I don't think I'm really scary, but he looked scared. And I said, "Is that seat taken?" It was the middle seat, and there was a lady in the window, and he was on the aisle, and I said, "Is that seat taken?" And he said, no, but he looked really scared. Well, by the time the flight was over, I talked to everybody, right? I said, why were you
Me too. My
scared?
kids are always like, stop.
Yeah, right. I asked him at the end of the flight, why were you scared when I walked up and asked if the seat was available? And he's like, oh, well, because I had already then learned he has cancer, and it was his wife sitting next to the window with a mask on. She didn't feel well, so she was staying away from him because he's immunocompromised. And he said, we were just afraid that we would get you sick because my wife, was sick, but she was wearing a mask. I said, I have a great immune system, but that explains the fear. It wasn't about you yourself being afraid of me. It was about you being afraid for me, which is so beautiful, right? So I told him, I said, you should research some work from Ani Williams, because if you're missing the tone of E, it could actually correlate to lung issues, i.e. the lung cancer, which is also then associated with the color of yellow. So then color comes into the play. So I think that it's just so beautiful if we can look at sound and light together and color therapy with sound therapy in a resonant chamber like the harmonic egg, where the sounds in the nanometers of the light aren't escaping into the ether of a room or, into the ether of wherever you're playing it, because it's contained in the sacred geometric wooden egg. And wood doesn't hold energy or information like water, or crystals. So you look at the spiritual properties of the wood and nature and the sacred geometry, and you bring together sound and light with the right musicians, because you want consciously created music. You want the musicians to have a high heart energy and to be of service to the planet and to humanity, versus, oh, how much you're going to give me for that song, or how much you're going to pay me to stream that song. So you look at all these things, and I really think that when you're of service, abundance just shows up. And that's how it's been for me.
How long did this take you to do? I mean, this seems like I just can't get over, and we're going to keep talking about it, but all the details of what it took to design this. So it does sound like it's perfectly harmonized.
Perfectly. And I think maybe 3,000 years. I think
just
it's from past life.
Just you.
Yeah, I think it's just past life stuff. Yeah. I think there's past life stuff.
But like
it took me about
life, how long?
In this lifetime, I would say, I do believe that we shouldn't just listen to one expert. We should not have one guru. So that's my thing. Between Wayne Dyer and Ani Williams, and I've listened to Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton. I've read probably 300, 400, 500 books. I'm the type of person that went to college to try to get an education, and 13 years later, I just realized it's a game and I need to get the piece of paper and get out. All of my teaching that I've been self-taught is through experts that I've, you read my book. There's 90 references to the efficacy of sound and light therapy through different doctors and research studies. And so just my brain retains information really well. I have a bit of a photographic memory. So I read these books, and then I feel like I'm more of a weaver of information. So I can say, okay, well, if this, then this. And these things that people don't normally put together. They're like, how did you figure out that with that and that is going to equal that? And it's just how my brain works. And so probably about 10, 12 years.
Okay. And how did you incorporate the light? So talk a little bit about the power of light healing. I mean, I think of just the sunshine at its basic level, like what that does for sunshine. People emotionally, physically.
Yeah. So, we started out with having red light therapy, which is awesome stuff. But I think red light is so stimulating, and I don't think it should be for exposure to children or animals, because it is so stimulating and they already have so much energy. So I feel like red light is really awesome for increasing blood flow for athletes who have injuries that they want to heal pretty quickly. But I don't think it's for someone who has chronic illness, because I think it can just stimulate things too much. So we use more of the blue lights, calming and anti-inflammatory blue, purple, detoxing, relaxing, green, very neutral of a color, yellow, very empowering, orange, depression, and orange is the color of success. So I drove an orange Nissan Maxima for a while, which I love that car. It was one of my favorite cars. Just orange. It just like made me feel good. And so just the color orange. So you look at over the Eastern, medicine and the different chakras and the colors and how different colors can bring different chakras back into balance. And again, there's no one size fits all, but if you combine drumming with red light, and it can actually help you to work on teeth issues, eye issues, ear issues, because those are survival systems in our body. So it'll be associated with the root chakra. So when you look at this Eastern medicine and combine it with Western medicine and, just different psychology, it's really cool how you can bring together the spiritual forces of sound and light. And it's like 5 modalities in one, with the resonant chamber and the vibrations, which gives you a bit of a sonic massage. And so, I just love how the different colors can affect the chakras. And in Eastern medicine, they talk about the chakras. When a chakra is out of balance, say third eye chakra being out of balance, you could have brain tumors. So we bring those things back into balance with what is ailing the person. And it's not treating them, it's just helping them tune into their own body and then utilizing their innate ability to heal, which that's a God-given gift.
So if someone were to do this, and we'll get into where they can do it in a little bit, do they go in with a specific, like, this is bothering me, or, and then you calibrate the egg to that? Or do they just go in with, like, I just want to make sure that everything is lined up and in alignment, and like we're going to get rid of disease and all of that?
So you
what's
have an
kind
intention.
of the entry point?
Yeah, okay. You have an intention when you come in, and everybody gets an intention that we kind of go through in the paperwork. So their intention could be allergies, or it could be they want to get a different job, or they want to have peace and harmony with their children, or they have a broken bone. You just don't know what happens. So when they come in, they give their intention, and then we have protocols based on the waveforms of the instruments, the music that we have for selections, and the colors that we have. We bring that together and we design a musical prescription for their session. So it's all specific to that person. It's really,
and do you
really,
need
really
a certain
powerful.
amount of sessions?
It depends. Some people will come in and they'll do one session and say, okay, my insomnia is gone now. Okay, but they're really, I think, healing is more of a process than an event. And so I really feel like if you built up to the point of having insomnia, there's probably something else going on in the nervous system that created that. So you really want to, I think, at least do 3 sessions to 6 sessions will really help reboot the nervous system. So I don't want people to think it's a one and done. But there are people that do one, and then they say, I reached the level of wellness that I wish to achieve from the harmonic egg, and they're done, and that's okay too. But I love my weekly sessions, and we'll bring in death to the conversation. My mom and dad were both medical error deaths back in 2017.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was quite brutal, but. They were both very different experiences, and this was so beautiful, how I got to experience death with my dad and how I got to experience death with my mom. And one of my intentions in the egg was to talk to my mom when she had a brain aneurysm, and she came loud and clear through the speakers. Like, I almost thought she was talking through the speakers in her coma state, which it was insane. But with my dad had mesothelioma, worked in the Detroit area, worked in the asbestos plant for 30 years, brought it home on his clothes. We lived in an asbestos house. So, when he got diagnosed with COPD, I said, no, he's got mesothelioma, 30 years in an asbestos plant. So they wouldn't do the test on him. But so he slowly declined for 4 years, on every different type of inhaler, antidepressants, pain meds, because they weren't treating him with what he actually had. And I'll go to my grave knowing that he had this lung cancer. Even at the last 6 months of his life, all he wanted was sugar. And we know that sugar feeds cancer, and cancer survives off of sugar. So the only thing keeping him alive was the sugar. But we had this, this communication where I said, Dad, do you believe that your soul is gonna live on? He said, No, I believe you're dead. That's it. You go under the ground. You're done. I said, but what if you're wrong? What if I'm right? What if we can communicate after you pass away? And he said, you're crazy. Well, he used to smoke, so he smoked till the day he died. And so I said, well, how are you going to communicate with me? And my mom would be in the background. Stop talking about death. This is scaring me. I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to hear. I'm like, then go in the kitchen, Mom. I'm visiting with Dad. And he said, no. I said, well, maybe, you'll give me a smoke smell or a song on the radio. And he said, no. Coins. I'm going to leave you coins. I said, okay, you leave me coins, some kind of change. And so, the day happened where he passed. And I remember within minutes of him passing, he was over my right shoulder. And he was like, no, now I get it. Now I know what you do, who you are. And it was so peaceful. Like the minute he passed, it was just like, whew, he was like, peace out, guys. This is it. I'm done. And it was really, really cool. Yeah, it was so cool. It was such a great experience. And I got to know him on such a deeper level than I ever knew him in the physical form. And so I walked into my office 4 hours later. I had a client coming in and walked into my office. There was a dime and a penny on the rug in front of the front door. And it wasn't there when I left the night before. And so it was him saying, hey, I'm here. So cool. So cool. And over the years, he communicates with me through, if I ask him a question, I get an answer in my head. And so 11 weeks later, my mom had a brain aneurysm, and I called the hospital as soon as I knew she was on the way there. I live in Colorado. She lives in Michigan. And I told them, I said, her husband just passed away. She's got goiters on her thyroid. She's on migraine pills, blah, blah, blah. And I know they expand and contract the blood vessels in the brain. And I said a lot of stress. So they found the brain aneurysm pretty quickly. And before the surgery, my brother was in there and she squeezed my brother's hand. After the surgery, she was brain dead. So something happened. Maybe the doctor was tired, 30-hour shifts. They make mistakes because they're overworked. They're exhausted. And they're human, right? So something happened. And unfortunately, we had to pull the plug. They said, she was brain dead. And when I did my session with my intention in the egg while she was in the coma, or she was kind of just out, I remember hearing through the speakers, what happened? What happened? And so I told her everything that happened. And she was such an avid bowler. So I said, if you come out of this, you might have to learn how to eat again. You might have to learn how to walk again. She's like, oh no, I got to bowl. She had like the high score on the league, when she passed away. And she's like, no. So she basically didn't want to stay, but she was so angry. And it was so hard when she passed. One is she got cremated before the third day. And I feel like she hadn't really left the body yet. So it was very, very painful, very hard on her, and just a whole lot of anger and just, I'm not leaving. I can't believe I died. Like one foot still on the earth plane and one foot gone. It took me 2 years to actually work with her to get her to kind of go to the light. And so I love the process of death. I think it is so beautiful and it is so unique for so many different people. And I just love how we can you might leave the physical body, but you're still here. There's still an energy. Everything's energy. So I just really wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so sorry for what sounds like really traumatic losses too. It sounds like in her in-between, she was really communicative with you. Is she still communicative with you since you've helped kind of move her across the veil?
Yes, she still is. She still meddles in my business. And some people have to kind of tell her. She tries to help with the business, which is so cute. She has no idea about business, but she tries to intervene, and it's super cute. I'm like, Mom, God, I got this. But she doesn't like to see me stressed. And what the vision that I get for her, where my dad was like, peace out. There's so much more I can do. My mom is still sitting on the front porch with the beautiful green grass and the flowers and just waiting for us, waiting for her children to die so she can meet them. I'm going to try not to cry.
No, I mean, I totally.
It's just, that's where my mom is. My dad was like, see you later. I'm out.
Right.
And my mom's like, I'm going to wait here. Yeah. We were her everything. And so she's sitting there waiting. And I told her, do something else. And she's like, nope, I'm
she's
good.
Trying.
I'm happy.
She's trying to be helpful.
Yeah. She's adorable.
She sounds like she's trying to still mom from over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talked to my aunt, her sister, and my aunt says, yeah, you guys were everything to her. You were her everything. And she had 3 kids. So she's just going to sit there and wait. Yeah, I have a younger brother and a younger sister. Do your siblings
experience her as well?
Not as much as I do. I've been trying to help them to tune in and to experience her. They both experience my dad more than they do mom. And I think she just hasn't honed her skills on the other side enough to get their attention where they are in their journey of spiritual, healing. So, yeah, it's quite comical. This peace lily here in my office, my mom had a hard time ever. She never could get a peace lily to bloom. This silly thing blooms all year long. I mean, there's a peace lily on there every day. So
that's so beautiful, though. What a recognition of her.
Yeah, every
presence.
Day. Whew, okay.
Yeah, I know. Can I ask a question that's sort of shifting back gears, which feels a little bit odd
it's fine.
do
it's fine
right now? But how does sacred geometry fit into all of this as well?
Well, sacred geometry is so prevalent on the planet in all of nature. And, I always kind of get a kick out of the pyramids are still standing. But there's houses in the 1930s that are demolished because they just didn't stand the test of time. And I notice with, I think nature recognizes sacred geometry and respects it. And I think with the egg being sacred geometry and us using the golden mean ratio and a hexagon platform and different sacred geometric shapes. And
what's the golden mean ratio?
So it's it's like the what they call it, the phi or the pi, 1/1618 is the golden ratio. And so we use that with the dimensions of the egg. We have an egg center in Fort Myers, Florida that survived the hurricane. We have 2 eggs in Miami and Hawaii. Didn't get touched by, all the weather that they had there this past year. We had eggs that survived floods, tornadoes in Texas, the fires, the Marshall fires in Louisville, Colorado. And it just kind of curious to me why, so much around those structures would get destroyed, but not where there was sacred geometry.
Oh my God, I have the goosebumps from that.
Yeah, it's crazy. The one in the tornado in Texas, it leveled the 5-story building in the same parking lot and left the 5-story building with the egg in it. What is it random? Was it a coincidence? Which I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything is connected. There are no accidents. And so I think it's really comical how so many people, I know you don't talk about manifesting on your show very much, what I heard in one of your podcasts.
No, okay.
But
I call it more co-creating.
Yeah. People will say, oh, my intention was that I've been trying to meet up with this friend that I went to high school with and I haven't seen her in 17 or 18 years. And the lady literally left my center, went to Home Depot, ran into that lady. Like, can't make this stuff up. So there's something
about changing the energy and the frequency in which we're vibrating that attracts or pulls in. I need to get into an egg, which I'm going to ask you about in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you measure success? Like, are you able to do any sort of trials on this, or is there? You said the FDA is really difficult in terms of getting approval for things. Like, is that the goal? What's the kind of end game for that?
I don't want an FDA approval. I don't want this to be a medical device. It's a relaxation chamber. I really
Got
think
it.
that
Okay.
that's where it needs to be. And, we can't make any claims. We can't say it'll guarantee or cure anything. So how we measure success is if people are happy and they leave us a testimonial. I had a recent testimonial from a lady who her son committed suicide, and she was next. She was just going to go be with him. And after her egg session, she wrote me a really nice testimonial about how the egg saved her life. Because during her egg session, maybe she spoke with her son, but she just basically said, I realized that I'm going to be able to process this grief. I'm going to be okay. And so things like that happen every day. And so the measure of success is, if people are seeing a change, if the intention that they set is happening. And not everybody's going to get what they want, but they get what they need. So I've had people tell me, oh, I went in there for my back pain and then my headaches went away that I had for every day, for the last 2 years. I'm like, you're welcome, or I'm sorry. I'm not sure which one.
Right.
So the body's going to heal the way that it needs to heal. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work on the lungs first or the pain first. It might have to work at a deep emotional level to release a lot of that stuff first.
So it's just really about allowing, like going into this and allowing whatever needs to heal to heal. I mean, you can have the intention, but it really sounds like it's such a powerful modality.
And I can do a controlled study, but I've had doctors tell me, have you done a controlled study? I'm like, for me, a controlled study is like 100 people that are the same age, grew up in the same town, had the same parents, had the same job, ate the same diet, drank the same amount of water. That's a controlled study, not 25 people from the ages of 16 to 90. How are you really saying what happens? That's not a controlled study. So, and I don't have millions of dollars to do these, pay for science. I really don't. So to me, the testimonials speak for themselves, and it's all grown. The whole business has grown by word of mouth because people are like, oh my God, I had this amazing experience in this crazy big giant wooden egg, and you got to go try it. And that's how the business has grown.
How do you, it sounds like, first of all, how much is an egg?
Well, I don't want to say the price on the, because it changes. So, but they're not cheap.
So they're not for like individual use. It's really
they're for
use
commercial
in
use.
like a
but we have a home unit.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a home unit right now. So on the website for the home unit, it has the price.
I didn't see the home unit. Is that new?
It's a light capsule. It's a really beam me up, Scotty kind of light capsule, and it just sits. It's 48 inches in diameter, so it sits in the corner of your home. And I invented it during COVID when people said they were afraid to go out. A lot of my clients said, I want to I want to get egged, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid. So I never closed. The city called me. I kept a closed sign up, but I told the clients, just come in. I'm going to stay open for you because they didn't have any help. And there are a lot of older people just needed a hug. So I stayed open and I was there to serve and support. But the city called me a few times and they saw, cars in the parking lot, and we followed all the 6 feet rules and we cleaned more. And, but I was like, I can't close. I can't just abandon all my clients. So we created a home unit so they could get, the egg session through the sound and light. It's not as intense, but it's a great maintenance thing. And we use the same music and it has a light and a speaker, but it's just a circular light capsule.
So how does this differ from like an infrared sauna? I get that it has the sound piece, but
yeah. So infrared sauna technology is getting really, really good. You can do different light colors now. You can put a USB and play music in there, but you don't have the ions from the infrared, whether it's far infrared or near infrared. You don't have the ions and you don't have the heat. So the egg detoxes you through a vibrational massage and through the colors and the sound, but an infrared sauna is more with that and the infrared heat panels.
Okay. And if people are interested in doing these, I'm very curious. I think there's only one in the Chicago area, and I feel like it was in Naperville.
Naperville has one, yeah. Yeah. If you go to harmonicegg.com and look at the locations,
full day.
Put in your zip code. Now you can do remote sessions. Now, people say that's a little bit weird. You take someone's picture, you put their full birth name and their birth date on the picture, and you put it in the egg. Okay, that sounds a little kooky to me as well, because I'm an engineer from Detroit. But time and time and time again, it has helped my horse when she had injuries. It helped her to heal so much faster. It's helped other people's animals when you put the picture of their animal in there. It's helped people's kids who can't sit still in the egg, but it's helped adults who just couldn't make it out to a center because it was too far. And so you take that, and everything's energy. So it's just like sending somebody prayer. There's an energy there, an intention that you have there. You still set your intention with the practitioner, but it's really your time to stay off your computer, to go walk in nature, go lay down, and you do the session. And a lot of people, even my brother, who's so not believing in any of this stuff, he can usually tell me what colors I've used on him. And he's in Michigan. I'm in Colorado. I put him in the egg, and he'll say, I saw yellow. I'm like, yep, you were on yellow. So sometimes he thinks I'm going to lie to him. So he's like, tell me what color, and then I'll tell you if you're right. I'm like, do you think I'm going to lie to you? So it's really cute, but he's usually spot on. He's picking up the energy, or he's seeing it in his mind's eye. And so it's all energy. And so people do remote sessions all the time. And I do remote sessions in the one in Peru because I want to get the energy of the land of Peru. And I do sessions in the New Zealand egg remotely, so I can get the energy of the land of New Zealand. So it's really fun.
It's amazing. Amazing. And how much are each? Can you say how much the sessions are? Or does that vary?
They range anywhere from $80 to $250. So that's in LA, it's going to be, a higher price because the rent's higher. Right. But I think average is about $100. It's not much at all. Bad. For what you get, it is actually cheap. Because some massages I've had were $175, $185, and it didn't do what the egg can do. So I think generally it's actually really, really cost effective, and all my center owners are there to serve. And so I feel like my business model that I created was that of cooperation and not competition. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a business model where there's no royalties, there's no franchise. That's very patriarchal. It's very old school. And so I created a business model where I'm doing these interviews with you so that more people can learn about the egg, so all my centers can be abundant. I'm giving my time, I'm putting money back into the company for advertising and PR, which this is what I call advertising. And, giving them advertising on the website, and I'm always creating new music and giving them new protocols. And they have a private Facebook page where they can help each other. And we do a call once a month where I'm on there asking, do you guys have any questions? Do you have any tough clients? How can I help you? How can I serve?
How long are you in the egg for?
50 minutes, 50. So it's 40 minutes of music and it's 10 minutes of silence. And I feel that silence at the end is so important because we don't spend enough time in silence. And so therefore we never listen to our bodies. We never stop. And I'm guilty of it. I'm an overachiever. I feel like I have so much to do before I die that at my ending day, I want to be sliding into home base safe. I did everything that I was going to do.
I am so with you.
No regrets. Yeah, exactly. So 50 minutes is nothing to give to yourself, once a week or once a month. And, sit in that silence and listen to your body and see what it's saying to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gail, wow, this is just so fascinating. I'm so glad my friend Schroeder found out about you and we connected. If people are interested in learning more about the Harmonic Egg, your book, which is just a fabulous compilation of like light and sound and energy healing. It's just great for if people are curious about that. And it's about your story. It's called Unlocking the Ancient Secrets to Healing, Why Science is Looking to the Past for the Future of Medicine. But where can they find all about your work, and where can they find a Harmonic Egg in their area? If anybody's listening that lives in Chicago and they want to buy a Harmonic Egg for their business, let me know. And I want to come.
I hear you.
Because it just sounds awesome.
Harmonicegg.com. Yeah, harmonicegg.com is where we have everything. And it's where the home unit is, the books, the music. We sell the music as well. I had a lady, she's in Indiana, and she didn't have one close to her. So she bought the music. And she's like, Gail, you're not going to believe this. My husband had a headache, and I played Stress Less for him, which is on our yellow USB on the website. And she's like, his headache was gone in just a few minutes. And the music is all energy as well. So everything's energy. And so you actually are buying the WAV file and not an MP3 file. And it comes with song notes, and it'll teach you how to use the song at home. So I don't want anybody to say, oh my gosh, I love all this information, but I don't have an egg near me. There's things you can do at home. I give a list of things in the back of the book, how you can use color at home, eat the rainbow, wear the rainbow, surround yourself with color. And that's why my office is blue. It's, I have a blue background here because it's a calming, cooling color. It's an anti-inflammatory color. And it also has a bunch of crushed up quartz crystal to help with like EMFs and stuff. So we can do all these things at home. It's really cool. And it's fun. I mean, maybe I'm just a nerd, but it's fun.
No, I love it. And I love the integrity. It sounds like that you really have in wanting people to have access to this, even if they don't have access to the egg. There's other ways to access these different modalities of healing.
Absolutely. And there's no one size fits all. I think everybody should explore float tanks. They should explore Reiki, massage, acupuncture, but just don't do it all together. You want to separate it so that you let your body digest or integrate it. And I think it's important that you don't just go have a spa day and do everything on the same day, because it's actually going to hurt you. But not everybody's...
And that's...
Yeah. Go ahead. Not everybody wants to heal in a large wooden egg. They want to talk to a psychologist. They want to have a hands-on healing. Yeah.
And that's really a lot of the impetus of this podcast, is to allow people to see different treatment modalities. And maybe they do a harmonic egg healing and it is the thing that really worked for them. Or maybe they haven't their astrological chart read and they feel like, oh my God, now everything makes sense and I can move forward in my life. I'm not here to say this is what you have to do. I'm just here to show you what the options are potentially for your healing.
Yeah. I just want to educate people on how they can heal themselves, because, the third leading cause of death right now is medical error. And I just feel like the more people get to know their body, then, maybe we'll save a life through this podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Gail. This was just beautiful and so
thank you.
Interesting and inspiring. And you're really an incredible vessel for bringing this capsule into the world, this egg into the world. Is pretty remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor.
Like what you heard today and want to hear more? Wondering what comes next and what it all means? Head over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere you get your podcasts and hit subscribe. Also, if you could take a minute to rate and review my podcast, I would really appreciate it. Stay tuned as we continue to explore life, death, and the space between.